Cole Holcomb is back. That is where we'll start, my friend. He is returning to the Pittsburgh Steelers after a year off dealing and rehabbing and going through the entire training process of returning from a significant knee injury. He restructures his contract today, saves the Pittsburgh Steelers what was originally believed to be $4 million. According to Jerry Dulac, it is now $5 million for the Pittsburgh Steelers, gives them roughly $64 million in available salary cap space heading into free agency on Wednesday, and answers a question that we have all been waiting for, and that is what's going to happen with Cole Holcomb. He was considered one of the possible cap casualties this offseason, but at the same time, you had the question constantly, okay, he's here, he's been here. Why would they wait so long to get rid of him if they were just waiting until this offseason and they were going to pay him last year? That didn't make a ton of sense. Well, they're keeping him. And there are questions that come with this, but I think positive updates are more important. Now, Cole Holcomb's been a guy that has been in the locker room literally every day throughout the season. He was training at UPMC Rooney Sports Complex all the time. He, at the same time, was on the sidelines during most of the team's games with the headset on, which means he was communicating. He was working with these coaches to try and keep his brain sharp and his football IQ high. This was a guy that, all year long acted like he was out 3 weeks when he was out 18 of them. And you just thought the entire time the Pittsburgh Steelers liked this guy. According to, I believe it was Pelissero who first broke the news, the Steelers really like what this guy brings in leadership and his capabilities when he's fully healthy. He now will be. There are two big questions that come with this. The first one is, what is his role? The second one is, what does it mean for a guy like Elandon Roberts or maybe somebody like Peyton Wilson? We'll start with Cole Holcomb's role in 2025. I know everybody's talking depth. I know everybody's saying that's a great depth piece. I think that is most likely what's going to happen. But I would not shut the door on the Pittsburgh Steelers giving Cole Holcomb an opportunity to start in 2025. I'm not saying he's going to be the favorite, but I don't know who would be. I don't know, even if you do bring back E-Rob, if there's a clear cut, this guy should be next to Patrick Queen. I get everybody's going to say Peyton Wilson, but Peyton Wilson's a second year, third round pick. And yeah, he played a lot last season, but we also saw that he's still got some development in front of him. Do you rush him onto the field and make him the full-time starter? Whether we agree with that or not, it might not be what the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking to do. I wouldn't shut the door on Cole Holcomb being a candidate for some pretty big playing time in 2025. And worst case, he is the best fourth inside linebacker that a team has in the National Football League. What does it mean for Mark Robb? I don't think anything. I would keep all five of them. And what does it mean for E-Rob, which is the second part of this question? I don't know. I think that one's more up for debate than people want to realize. The Steelers have not gotten a deal done with Elandon Roberts. He wants to come back. He is definitely a Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker, and the Pittsburgh Steelers love him. But they have 3 inside linebackers right now, all under contract, and you're going to go out and pay a fourth guy that essentially is a starter in a mix of what would be 4 guys worthy of consideration for a starting job. I'm not totally sold that that's where the train of thought is for Pittsburgh. It could be. It might make a ton of sense to have depth, especially when you've had injuries there. But how many teams in the National Football League have 4 inside linebackers that would start most years on their team? Not many. It's just not a position that you're looking for like that. Now, if E-Rob's cheap, sure. But if E-Rob is that entire $5 million, I think there are questions about whether or not the Steelers would bring him back or consider bringing him back. We'll start with the role. What's your thoughts on Cole Holcomb's placement within this defense now that he is back? And do you see E-Rob returning with the definite that Holcomb is as well?
Yeah, when I look at Holcomb, I think that this is a guy that the door is going to be left open, that he can grab that number 2 spot. In my eyes, Patrick Queen is the number 1, but let's not forget, before he went down with injury, Cole Holcomb was that guy. If Cole
Mhm.
Holcomb never got injured, Patrick Queen would never have come to the city of Pittsburgh because Holcomb would have been that guy. Now, the question is, what does he look like after missing an entire year due to a devastating knee injury?
Yep.
That's one that I think the Steelers want answers to. And I think that's why you see Cole Holcomb restructuring to say, hey, I just want to be given the opportunity to prove that I can still be a starter in this league. I don't know if he can. He had the talent before the injury. I have no idea what he's going to look like after this injury and after a year off, but I think the door is going to be left open no matter if E-Rob comes back, which we'll get to, no matter if Peyton Wilson takes a step forward. They're
Yep.
going to go into camp. It's going to be Patrick Queen number one, and it's going to be a battle for the second, third, and fourth spot. And that brings me to Elandon Roberts. I think you bring him back because of those question marks with Cole Holcomb and because of how much better Elandon Roberts is at stuffing the run and playing the run than the
Mhm.
other two linebackers the Steelers currently have on the roster, than Patrick Queen, than Peyton Wilson. I think you need that presence. You need that guy that on a 4th and 1 is going to dive over the line and force a fumble and be inches away from getting you to beat the Dallas Cowboys on a major
Yes.
stop. You need a guy with that type of attitude on the defense, especially in the middle of the defense. Elandon Roberts brings that, and I think the Steelers would sorely miss that if they let it walk out the door. I agree with you. It has to come at the right price, but
Yeah.
something tells me that Elandon Roberts is going to come at the right price, and he's going to be the finishing touch on this stacked inside linebacker core that is going to have to battle for every
Mhm.
inch of playing time.
Yeah, I hope that's the case. I do. I hope Erob comes back. I think he makes too much sense for the Steelers. Like, why wouldn't you want a run stuffer in a year where you're trying to fix the run defense? Why would you not want that guy? Why would you not want a guy who's shown leadership, who could play the pass? Like, he's not a one-trick pony. He's obviously a one-trick pony compared to these other guys, but he's a dude that has been literally the only inside linebacker for the Steelers, which means he's had to play every single snap. I've seen this guy in the locker room barely be able to walk and go play 100% of the defensive snaps on a Sunday. I've seen it with my own two eyes. And when you ask him, "Hey, are you going to play this?" He just shakes his head. He says, "Yeah, I'm going to play this Sunday." There's not even a question. And I'm like, "All right, yeah, I believe you. I believe you 100%." That's who Rob is. I do think he fits the Steelers. I think attitude comes with this. You know what I mean? Like, I think the Steelers need guys like Rob to say, we need somebody that's going to show up and be scary. We need a scary inside linebacker. I get it. Patrick Queen's a villain. Deshaun Elliott's a villain. Rob's that quiet. He ain't going to say nothing. He's just going to look at you. And that's intimidating enough type of player. The Steelers need that guy. You know, that guy always works well in the middle of a defense. He works well in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's always tried to have that guy, whether it was, I mean, you could go back to Jack Lambert. You could go to as recent as Vince Williams. And I guess now Elandon Roberts. And that's what the Steelers need at the inside linebacker position. I hope E-Rob comes back. I'm pretty confident all three of them are going to compete for a starting job. What do you give the chances Cole actually pulls it off? I like, to me, like, everybody's talking depth immediately goes, that's a great depth piece. In my eyes, like you said, like, he was the guy before he got injured. I don't know what this knee injury is going to do to him. That's a massive question mark. But if he could come back and be most of what he was, I don't understand why he wouldn't be the number two. To me, that's a guy that he was the number one and he got injured. And if he comes back most of the number one, that's number two. And you have Peyton Wilson and Rob behind him who fit great roles as specialty players. And Holcomb and Patrick Queen are your all around 3 down linebackers. I just feel like it makes, like, I really do. I think the door is wide open for Cole if he is back to where he was. Now, again, that's a massive question mark, but I think I'm a little bit higher on what Cole could be to this defense than I think a lot of people out there are assuming with this news breaking.
Yeah, and I think the big thing you have to look at is if they didn't believe that he could be that number 2, or at the very
Yeah.
least be somebody that would immediately get into the top 3, why would they have held on to him? There was
Yep.
always the question of, well, why are they holding on to him if they're not going to let him try to come back? Why would they hold on to him if they thought he was just going to be a 4? Because this isn't a
Mhm.
guy that has a storied history
Yep.
as a special teamer. This is a guy that has a storied history as an inside linebacker in the NFL. So if they're retaining him for that. They're not retaining him to say, oh, let's see if we can turn him into a special teamer. No,
Yeah.
you're retaining him for over a year through this entire long, drawn out knee recovery because you
Mhm.
believe that on the other end of that is still a very good player that can play starting minutes for you, that can get starting snaps, that can carry the load in the middle of your defense. That's why they're bringing him back. So, as much as a lot of people want to bury him, simply because I think it goes to show that people like what E-Rob had to do last
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
They like what Peyton Wilson looked like. And it feels like, Holcomb kind of got pushed out when he was injured. If you can get that fourth, and now especially that you have that fourth at a cheaper price that allows you to go out and do other things, why wouldn't you? It's always better to have more talent than less. And when you can do it for cheaper, that's always a positive. So I like the move, and I think that it makes a lot of sense that the door is open not just for him to play, but to play some serious minutes.